Welcome to Baxter Yoga. I'm here at the Oakland Yoga Studio again today. Please check out the studio the next time you're in Oakland, California. And don't forget, you can now order my book, Yoga for Healthy Aging, co-written with Nina Zolotoff, as well as the button for ordering, the link button to order t-shirts on my website, baxterbell.com. If you decide to order t-shirts, order up a couple sizes. They tend to run a little bit small. So welcome to today's yoga and anatomy session, where we're going to continue our exploration of different regions of the spine of the body. And today we're going to talk a little bit about the thoracic area. And I've turned our model around so you can see the back a little bit easier, because otherwise the rib cage would get in the way of your view. So when we move up from the lumbar area, and if you haven't watched my video on the lower back or the lumbar spine, please check that out. So sitting atop the 5 thick, fairly mobile vertebra of the lumbar area are the 12 vertebrae of the thoracic area. And of course, the thoracic area starts where the cervical area ends with T1 and then goes all the way down to T12. And a couple of interesting features about the thoracic area is that the vertebrae are not as thick as in the lumbar area, so they're not quite as tall. And in addition to that, the discs are only about 1/6 of the height of the vertebra. So that smaller disc is going to create a little limitation in the range of motion of one bone relative to the other. So that's going to influence the amount of flexion and extension, side bending and rotation that can take place in the thoracic area. In addition to that, especially in the upper 10 ribs, or the upper 10 vertebrae, we've got these ribs that attach onto the bones at the sides and then come around, the top 7 plugging directly into the breastbone, and the bottom 3 connecting via some cartilage at the front lower sides of the rib cage. And so the presence of the ribs attached to the thoracic vertebra is another factor that limits the amount of movement that takes place in the thoracic area. And we're talking about that thoracic area. In addition, the spinous process, which is the little bony thing that sticks back and out away from your spine, which you can sometimes feel if you reach back and press in the middle and roll your fingers around a little bit. The spinous processes are angled slightly down and they're somewhat long, so they're almost like the sheets on an Italianate roof, and so that if you were to go into a back bend position, the spinous process of the bone above would hit the one below and limit the amount of extension that can take place between individual bones. So it's not until you get down to the 11th and 12th vertebra in the thoracic area, where you just have these little floating ribs that attach, that you start to get a little more ability to back bend, forward bend, side bend, and rotate. In the central area of the chest, the whole rib cage tends to move almost as a unit, and there isn't a lot of huge movement in those directions. Also, in this area of the T11, T12 vertebra, it's the first time as you're coming up from the pelvis that you get pretty decent rotation. So when we do our sitting or standing rotations, and we start to feel like the rib cage is turning, it's really turning from that lower area. So I think those are some basic things I wanted to share with you today about the thoracic portion of the spine. It's a very important area, of course, because it houses the lungs and heart right in front of it, and in general doesn't move a ton. As we get older, we have to be careful about the rounding of the thoracic area, because that can happen, and we want to keep good posture to maintain that over time. So that's it for today's discussion of the thoracic vertebra. Thanks for joining me. Remember, you can follow me online at baxterbell.com and the blog site Yoga for Healthy Aging. In addition, I have longer yoga practices on the practice channel at the website yogayouonline.com. Thank you so much for joining me today. Look forward to seeing you next time. Namaste.